Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farrukh Pitafi. Today we are going to talk about something different, but while we are going to talk about it, let me remind you, I told you so. When Panama Papers actually surfaced, at that time everybody kept on talking about which leader to actually apprehend. And I kept on saying that till that time you don't fix the system, till the time you don't define it, the offshore companies as illegal activity, till that time everyone will keep on doing it and history will keep on repeating itself. I keep on actually pointing out that it was Karl Marx who said that history first repeats itself as tragedy and then as farce. I don't know which cycle this is, but the fact is that now, after Panama Papers, we saw Paradise Papers, and now we are seeing Pandora Papers. Apparently, it is bigger than the previous two revelations, terabytes of data. But out of that, only 700 names so far have been identified as that of Pakistanis. Sadly, or fortunately for some, we don't know the whole list of 700 people, but there are people who are influential, not up to the scale of Panama Papers, when the former Prime Minister actually was identified as one of the beneficiaries. But it goes to the cabinet, it goes to the opposition ranks, it goes to even civil-military divide and bureaucracy as well. So we are going to talk about all these matters. One, of course, there are names that we are going to discuss, but this program cannot be about a few names, can it? We cannot go on saying who is going to resign, who is going to be held accountable. We have to know under what law this is a cognizable offense and how to actually fix the whole situation. In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined in the studio by Ahmed Jawad Sahab, who is Central Secretary Information, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the ruling party. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Adarsh Chaudhry Sahab also joins us. He's a senior legal expert, constitutionalist, expert on these matters as well. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. I don't know whether our third guest is with us at this moment, but I was told that we will be given a representation from opposition party, leading opposition party, Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz. There seems to be some technical issue with the internet. Okay, right. I'm told that Senator Afnanullah Khan also joins us on Skype. Senator Sahab, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Again, with your permission, Ahmed Jawad Sahab, first I have to start with the technocrat, then I come to you, and then Afnan Sahab. Let me ask Adarsh Chaudhry Sahab, under which law is it an offense to open an offshore company?
Yeah, basically, offshore company is set up in order to avoid the tax net. Yeah. You don't want to pay taxes, right, and whatever business you are going to get and whatever income you are going to get. Right. And there are few safe havens where, like New Zealand and, Panama and other countries, yeah, where if you set up a company, offshore company, that's called offshore company, then you don't have to pay taxes in your country, and they just keep your money. And whenever you need it, for whatever purpose you need it, yeah, they provide you, and your name does not appear normally, and it is under so many layers.
Right. I get that.
Yeah.
But as per Pakistan's law, there must be. I remember in 2016 they said that they have come up with the new companies law, which at least gave the government of Pakistan the powers to seek, or SECP, to seek more information.
Yes.
But that is not like defining opening of such an account as an offense.
One thing is very clear, and that should be known to everybody, that if that company, offshore company, is declared, yeah, with FPR and SECP, then there is no problem.
You said that you open it for tax evasion.
Yeah.
If you open it for tax evasion, then you declare it. What is the purpose?
Purpose is that, there you are not paying taxes, but at least you are not going to be, caught for the reason that you have, concealed your assets, because that is the asset.
Right.
Which you are supposed to,
and we are going to talk more about the system and the framework that governs it. But let me bring in Ahmed Jawad Sahab. Ahmed Jawad Sahab, at least two names belong to the federal cabinet. One former federal minister and one federal minister who is still not part of the parliament. Wada Sahab's and Shaukat Tareen Sahab's names are there. Shaukat Tareen Sahab is a businessman, has been there and is in cabinet because of his business prowess. But Wada Sahab, is there going to, Prime Minister of Pakistan has tweeted that he's going to investigate everybody, but under what law?
Farrukh, just before that, my opinion on the technical definition of offshore company and the tax evasion and the tax avoidance. Not all offshore companies are made to evade the tax. Some offshore companies are made to avoid the tax. And tax avoidance is your right.
You like tomato better or tomato?
नहीं, इसमें थोड़ा सा मैं explain कर देता हूँ. Let me explain that you want to pay less tax or you want to evade the tax. You just don't want to pay the tax. So even in Pakistan, when you are preparing your business model, you have the right that you can prepare your business model with the help of experts that you pay as less as possible within the law.
Right.
So offshore companies, not all offshore companies are illegal. And I think that was the question which you asked, Arif Saab.
Actually, technically, I asked you the same question.
Yeah.
Under which law are you going to investigate people?
Yes. I mean, if it is illegal, obviously it will not be registered with Security Exchange Commission of Pakistan. Obviously, it will not be identified in the FBI if something is illegal.
Okay.
So, I mean, so we have to understand that.
What do you, sorry to cut you, what do you do with dual nationals?
It's a very good question because it depends that where is your earning, where is your income. I can give you an example that if we pay dual tax.
Please give me the example of Wada Sahab.
I don't know about his assets.
No,
I would have.
You know about the other case, because of which he had to quit one seat and ministry, and then he came to Senate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was about dual nationality and not cancelling it.
Yeah, I mean, that is a separate subject, but coming to the subject of today, I mean, Pandora box is such a favorite subject, at least for a few weeks, so maybe we can stick to that. So,
Wada Sahab is within his name is within the Pandora box.
So, yes, his name is there. Khusro Bukhyar, his name is there, and there are other politicians, there are retired military officers also.
Media owners.
Media owners. So I think the principal statement which came from Prime Minister was very, very appropriate statement when he said that every person who has been identified in the Pandora will be investigated. And today he has formed an investigation cell. He himself will be heading that cell.
Right.
And you can imagine that how high level.
And who else will be in that cell?
Not yet announced, but it will be assisted by FIA, it will be assisted by FBR, it will be assisted by obviously other institutions.
Yeah, my concern is that last time Panama Papers surfaced, because there was a high profile case, it had to go to Supreme Court. And then Supreme Court had to create a precedent by actually going for GIT, right? Under the law, there wasn't any provision, so essentially it was like Supreme Court was writing a law. That is because your Parliament is not writing laws these days. Now the question is, under which law are you going to do it?
It's very simple. Once you have got the information, the first question which comes from the law of the land from Pakistan is that why it is not indicated in your tax return. If you have an asset anywhere in the world, you are bound to include it in your tax return. That is number one.
It is an indirect approach. There has to be a direct approach of what is a crime and what is not. And I'm going to come back to you.
No,
allow me to
if you just
bring an
allow me,
answer.
I'll conclude this thing, that the most important thing is whether the company is identified in Pakistani books or not. Second,
If it is not, is it a crime?
the second thing is asset and the wealth which is in that company. What is the money trail? What is the status of that money? From where that money came?
The whole point of an offshore company is to evade that question, the money trail. Do you think everybody is going to have money trail?
But your
Adnan
investigation
Saab
will
is
start from this route. There is no other way.
Right. Adnan Saab, it happened during your time as well, and now it is happening again. And once again, it seems that Pakistan's legal framework, Pakistan's financial framework doesn't address this question directly. Can you tell us how to fix it?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I believe that if it's corruption, if the money is from corruption and then it is being laundered abroad, then for sure FIA, the law of FIA will for sure come into action. And as I already we had this discussion that not all offshore companies are illegal. There are mechanisms through which you can, for instance, if someone from Pakistan wants to do business in UK, they can go and open a company over there. The problem comes in when you do corruption in Pakistan, then you build up an offshore company and then you launder money into that offshore company, and then you buy properties from that company, and that is the normal mechanism.
Right. Who actually, sorry to cut you, but since you are giving me some semblance of a definition, who does corruption? Somebody who has political exposure or somebody else as well? If I'm, say, a property developer, and all of a sudden I actually promise, I make false promises, collect a lot of money, and then park it abroad and declare bankruptcy. Is that corruption or not? Okay, that problem is there. I'm going to come back to Afnan Saab when he comes back. Let me... Okay, he is with us. Afnan Saab, can you hear me?
I can hear you. So what I was saying was that if someone is working hard and they have a normal company and then they go bust, I mean, then that's fine. But if someone intentionally actually files for bankruptcy and then launders money from that company to another account, then that for sure is corruption. One thing that I want to highlight over here is that...
Afnan, sorry to cut you. I keep on cutting people. I have to apologize as well. But how do you tell who has the right intention and who has the bad intention? We don't have a machine to actually see whether you have good intentions or not.
I think it's not about intention. I mean, if for instance somebody has taken money out of a private limited company or a public listed company and then it's not part of his salary or anything else, then that's primarily one way of doing corruption. But there are many other ways. I mean, people can use their political or executive powers they have to basically make money as well. But the important thing that I wanted to highlight over here is that Imran Khan himself is involved in this particular Pandora leaks, because Fakhruddin Barki is a close relative of Imran Khan, and what the information that is coming out is that he is the front man for two of Imran Khan's offshore companies. So I don't understand how can Imran Khan actually investigate himself and his own cousin. So I think in this
hang on. This assumption that so and so is my cousin or my second cousin far removed, does it automatically prove that I am also in it?
It doesn't automatically prove, but I mean, normally this is what people do when they do corruption. They don't open companies on their own name because that is
Look,
very easily
Afnan Sahib,
traceable.
when
So
last
they
time
don't-
Panama Papers actually took place, at that time I was again talking against the exact same kind of automatic judgment and whispering campaigns. So that becomes a bad thing. But I'm going to come back to you, sir. Let me ask Arif Chaudhary Sahab.
Let me
Okay, conclude, please.
Let
Go
me
ahead.
complete my argument.
Very quickly.
I'm just concluding that the important thing over here is that the Prime Minister himself may be involved, but there needs to be a investigation which should be led through some other people, not anyone in the government, who can actually basically look into the whole case and then say whether he is involved or he is not involved.
I know I had to actually move on, but very quickly, when you say and when you accuse the Prime Minister, tell me please, where does the burden of proof lie? Does it lie with you or with the Prime Minister? Because there is no evidence, I can't see it.
Lies with there is evidence. If you look at Umar Chima, if you ask Umar Chima, he has already sent a question
Umar Chima is not
to Imran
evidence,
Khan
sir.
on those two. No, it's not evidence, but the companies that he has actually pointed out, there are two companies that he has pointed out, who the owner is Fakhruddin Barki, who is potentially a front man for Imran Khan. And he is got for an account.
Frontman for you or I as
think
well. We would know. Sir, with due respect, allow me to come back to the studio. Arif Chaudhary Sahab, again, I mean, this is the time when PMLN thinks that it is within its rights to actually pay back what it received when it was in government. But that doesn't actually mitigate the fact that till the time you don't fix the system, you don't have a really well-defined framework to regulate all these things and identify what is right and what is wrong, this will keep on happening.
Law doesn't go after subjectivity. Law is very objective. That's why intentions do not matter, whether it's a good intention or bad intention. When you find somebody that, you know, he has set up an offshore company, and naturally the meaning and the reason for setting up offshore company is to steal money and conceal money.
No,
for whatever reason.
But I understand in this case it might not be that much focus on intentions, but in the court of law, intentions do matter.
No.
If you attack me, I attack you and you kill me, then the court will view it differently.
In the law, as far as you know, injury is concerned, that is a quite a different thing. But physical injury, you know, because then, you know, even where it comes to a law of torts, their, you know, intention would really matter.
Okay.
But, you know, criminal law also gives importance, and there is separate law for that, you know. There is punishment for even intention. But here situation is like somebody has, you know, taken out money from Pakistan and he has set up a corporation, and where he is concealing that money, and for whatever reasons he has, under law he is supposed to disclose here and pay the taxes in Pakistan. And if he doesn't do so, whatever intentions he has, he is, you know, found guilty, and, you know, you can charge him for money laundering. You can charge him for certain other
but
tax
you
evasion.
said that. Are you sure that torts don't apply here at all? There is issue of bribery. There is also
no, tort doesn't, you know, tort is absolutely different. You know, tort goes after, you know, quite other things. In Pakistan, I would call it cosmetic value, such as somebody, you know, is, you know, you have seen many cases where damages were, you know, decreed for the reason that guy has, you know, due to the injury he received, he is deprived of the, you know,
ability to speak.
Injury on the lips, and he loses the taste, and you know, of lips.
But in
the damages were awarded for, but in criminal law it is not that way. Because, you know,
what applies here? What applies here? Criminal law, financial law?
Criminal law. here applies criminal law, but criminal law divided into two segments.
Financial corruption.
Financial corruptions, those who are involved in financial, such as these, you have created now cyber crimes wing,
Right.
particularly to deal with such
But
kinds
they are
of
crimes essentially.
yeah,
right?
this is crime. But you have set up separate segments for that and separate departments. So here, as far as Prime Minister is concerned, I think my friend should realize that there is no name of a Prime Minister.
Yeah.
So far we have not. But as far as
Last time, Panama Papers actually took out the 3 pictures
Yeah.
of the children of Mian Nawaz Sharif
Yeah.
and published it along with his own picture.
But you will allow me one thing
Yeah.
that I want to add here, that as far as heading a committee is concerned, investigative committee, I think Prime Minister shouldn't do it because he is the head and the chief executive of the country.
Okay.
And when it comes to the ministers of his cabinet, and he cannot, he's not supposed to do the
Butter Sahib is
investigation.
no more the cabinet minister. Butter Sahib is not a cabinet
No.
minister.
Even there are Mona Silai is in the cabinet.
Yeah.
And there are other persons, Aleem Khan is in provincial cabinet. Yeah, so I don't think that, it would be a good idea because the opposition will have, although, just a second, without
Learning from last time, I have to
without
do
his name, this is, what I'm saying is favoring him.
Yeah.
Without his name being mentioned anywhere, opposition is saying that he is also involved.
But they will
so then, naturally, when he becomes the head of the investigation, it shows that he has shown no confidence in all other organizations like, those which are being held. And so far, he has not created, those institutions which could conduct investigation.
I
in the
understand
proper
this, and I have to take it to Ahmed Jawad Sahab. Even if Prime Minister doesn't actually head the committee, and if FIA actually investigates, it reports to Prime Minister, it reports to Interior, who actually basically report to the Prime Minister. So it is basically the same thing. Now the question is, should he actually recuse himself from such an investigation? Not because somehow magically his distant relative's name might be there, but because 2-3 ministers are named.
I think, Farrukh, till the time we are just focusing on 2-3 ministers, it may not be a very good debate.
Yeah.
The debate is about 700 names, whether they are politicians in the government or they are in
Good
the
question.
opposition.
Where are those names?
Whether they are in military, whether they are from the corporate sector, whether they are from the
Agreed.
media houses.
Agreed.
So, I mean,
I used
we
to
should
say
be,
this 5 years ago as well, when everybody was talking about only one person or 2 persons. But at this moment, the humble submission is, where is that list? Do you have that list, sir? 700 people's names.
Please allow me, because your repeated interruption don't allow me to complete one point of view, and then you just give me another.
You keep on giving me more questions. So
allow me to explain something very important. That first of all, the list is not issued by Government of Pakistan. You know it. And the list will be issued internationally, and it cannot be blocked.
Will be?
Why not?
No,
when
it hasn't
Panama,
been. It hasn't been.
I'm not an expert of Pandora box. For that, you need to invite Umar Chima. But recalling the experience of Panama, this information is released internationally.
Yeah.
So it is accessible to everybody because of the pressures which mount because of the very influential people behind every scandal or every name.
Yeah.
So that is why there cannot be any block, there cannot be any filtering of the list that this can be informed and this cannot be informed. So the list will be there. I don't know what is the procedure of ICIJ.
Will you allow me to talk?
Yeah, please.
Just to counter what you said. You pointed out that government doesn't issue the list, right? I understand that, but the government has said that it is going to investigate all 700.
Yes,
you cannot do that
information.
You cannot do it until you have the list, right?
Based
the
on
second humble submission. Second,
it is based on the information available today or tomorrow.
Yeah, but regarding the previous list, when Panama Papers 1 and 2 happened, there were 2 lists, right? Each time we got the full list. Then Paradise Papers, surfaced. They also actually came up with all the lists. This time we haven't seen a list. So everybody is conjecturing maybe some names are being hidden through pressures or something.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. But the point is, ICIJ is quite an independent institution and well tested internationally because of the past experience. I don't think so that any name can be filtered in the information which ICIJ is releasing. It is not for one country, it is for all countries. So if somebody is able to filter it here, somebody may not be able to filter it other countries. So the list will be there, information will be there. And as far as government of Pakistan is concerned, the Prime Minister, which he has shown the intention, that is to carry out the investigation across the board. Irrespective somebody is from the government or opposition or retired military or corporate or media, does not matter.
Under what authority, executive or legal?
I mean, the Prime Minister is heading the executive. So, what is the question?
Is it not more about a legal, violation?
First, you have to investigate and prepare the case. Then it goes to the judiciary.
There has to be a prosecutor.
I mean, first of all, you need to investigate because they have given an information. Now, against each name, you have to find out his assets in Pakistan and what has been identified in the Pandura. So what is the difference? And then there are questions.
Very quickly.
That how
the reason why you keep on calling it Pandura? Because there is a corner in Islamabad as well. I think that you are referring to that because the Greek mythology is a bigger issue. And here we see a whimper. We don't see that.
No, it's a name. I have not given this name. It's a name given by ICIJ.
I thought that there is a spin somewhere.
No, there is no spin. They have given this name, and we are just following that, just like we were following Panama. So this time it is Pandora box. So we call it Pandora box. I don't want to rename it.
Okay, I agree. I agree, and I respect your point, and I understand that Panama was, when it was revealed, 2.6 terabytes of data. When Paradise actually came, it was 1.4, and now this one is 2.9 terabytes. I understand that. But the concern is that we are all human beings, right? Yesterday, you must have seen the coverage of the story. Each channel whose owner was named in the list was avoiding taking name of the owner himself. Right?
Obviously, because
you get it. So Pakistan is a country. Umar Chima or other members of ICIJ are human beings. They can be pressured into withholding some information.
Yes, there is always a likelihood. But so far, whatever is the information is available, we are relying on that, and we have to investigate. The obligation of the government after the Pandora box is to investigate every person and bring the facts. I mean, the difference in the assets of a person, declared assets, and what has not been declared, and now it is identified under the offshore company. I mean, this has to be answered. From where this money was earned, is it ill-gotten money? It's a corruption money.
How do you ask them? Under what law do you ask them? The people who have these accounts.
Every citizen of Pakistan can be asked about his means of income,
even
what
if
he declares and what he does not
even
declare.
If he is a dual citizen.
Law? FBI.
No, even if you are a dual citizen.
Yes. If you are dual citizen, the law of Pakistan equally apply on you. The only difference is that you must not go through double taxation. If you have paid tax on your income in UK, you are not bound to pay this tax again in Pakistan. But you have to show the tax you have paid abroad. So this is for the dual citizen.
So it becomes an offense if you haven't actually declared.
Of course, if you have not declared.
Under what law? Any
FBR.
FBR is not a law, it is a body.
No, I mean, FBR is a financial institution of Pakistan which is responsible to regulate the income and the assets of every citizen of Pakistan.
And there is a tax law.
Whatever you earn.
There is a tax law, there is a company's law, right? Which one is going to cover it? the problem, and I have spoken to many experts.
I can tell you this thing also.
SECP is also a body.
I can answer you just now because these are very simple and basic questions.
Thank you.
In a company, if your company has defaulted, if your company has some issues in the taxation, if you are in the board of directors, for example, there are 4 board of directors. All 4 board of directors, their personal accounts will be frozen.
Okay.
If there is a violation in the company.
Okay.
I mean, this is FBR law. I'm not explaining anything else.
No, it might be a law, but my humble submission is not every money parked outside is because of default. It is not even because of corruption.
Every citizen of Pakistan is answerable about his income in Pakistan or anywhere in the world. Now, because of this new consortium which has been made, I think it is OECD, which is
it is not very new.
Which means that you can get information of your citizens, their bank accounts and assets anywhere in the world. And Pakistan is part of that.
Afnan sir, do you agree with what Ahmed Jawad Sahab is saying?
There are multiple laws that have been promulgated to run the FBR. There are multiple laws that have been promulgated to run FIA. So there is not one law that you are breaching. There might be like multiple laws that you breach. For instance, like there is a different law for money laundering, and then there most probably the different law for like corruption locally done here in Pakistan. So I mean, the prosecution has to basically build the whole case up in a way that they can actually, pin down where the money is, how the money was moved, and whether the money was made from illegal means. So from that perspective, I think he's right.
No, but hang on.
I would like to highlight the fact.
Sorry to cut you, Dr. Afnan, because you have just given me a question. When you are saying that in any law, creating an offshore company is not corruption. It is not illegal. But there are other things which are involved. So you'll have to investigate 8 or 9 other things. How the money was made, how it was transmitted, whether it was declared, whether you are a person of political exposure and on. Why not actually define it? Or define a threshold of the crime or offense? Why is it not in the law book?
I mean, it is already defined. I mean, if you launder money, there is a law for that. I mean, if you do corruption, there is a law for that. I mean, in fact, there are more laws, there are less implementation, to be honest. And I believe that, I mean, what happens is that when you have an organization like FBR, there are like multiple SROs, multiple laws that you use. There is a separate act for customs, there is a separate act for sales tax. So there are multiple laws that come into play. I mean, what you're
SRO is not a law; it is an order.
Sorry, SRO is a law. Act is a kind of a law, and then there are many other laws that come into play in FBR and FIA. But the important thing, I think, from what I've understood, is that making overseas companies is not illegal as per the law. Any Pakistani can actually go abroad. There are millions of Pakistanis living abroad. A lot of them have their own businesses, so they're running their own companies. So that actually doesn't qualify them for doing anything wrong. However, if someone actually is in a position of power, he makes a lot of money and then he funnels that money abroad, then that actually you're breaking a lot of laws here in Pakistan, and of course you're breaking a lot of laws maybe in the country where you're sending the money as well. So this is how it is. I think what we need to focus is the lack of implementation of those laws. And for instance, like there are a lot of people who are nominated in this 700 people list. Some of those people are from government. They are part of the civil bureaucracy or the military bureaucracy. There is no way on earth that they can actually go abroad and buy flats. They don't have the means. Their salary doesn't allow them. Their benefits doesn't allow them. But if they start buying millions of pounds of properties abroad, that actually is a big flag for that particular organization, and also for FBR and FIA and SECP. And therefore, I mean, that is a very open and shut kind of a case. You can basically ask them how much money did you made when you were part of the government.
But that's a good question, or it's a good methodology. It was used on your leader when he was Prime Minister. And I distinctly remember how complicated the entire proceeding eventually became. The Supreme Court had first to create a JIT. Then it had to go and investigate. After that, there had to be a special court that had to be overseen by the Supreme Court. So if you are telling me that all these things are open and shut cases, they are not. There are many things that need to be proven.
I mean, the case of Mohammed Nawaz Sharif is not something that what I was actually referring to. What I was referring to was the civil military bureaucrats who have been nominated. It is very easy to
Pakistani is a Pakistani, whether it's wearing a uniform or whether they're in a sherwani or in a black coat.
But my argument is not that. You mean that particular argument was for the bureaucrats.
No, I know PMLN always makes it about civil military issue. I totally get that. But with due respect, there are multiple power centers in this country, and you have to talk about all of them. Politicians are one of them. Media is also one of them.
And we need to also talk about the ones that I'm mentioning, because I mean these are the ones that normally nobody actually mentions. I think it is very important that the law is the same for everyone. You can't actually, I mean, we have seen what has happened in Panama when there was a special court that was made. The judge was bribed. Videos of the judge were made, and then a fake order came up, and we saw, I mean, how you basically transform the whole accountability process into a political.
Again, I love these footnotes that you keep on slipping in. The judge was bribed, right? I don't know whether there is any proof that
the judge was. No, it is on record that Arshad Malik said that he was.
No, it is not on record. It is allegedly on a tape that was recorded in his privacy, and we don't know how it got out. First of all, we'll have to see what was the condition in which the gentleman was speaking and whether it was real. We don't, I understand in this country's debates, we don't want to actually focus on nuances, but these are important nuances. Privacy matters.
Yeah, another important nuance is the fact that, I mean, the judge is blackmailed.
Dr. Afnan, I no longer know whether you are contradicting my point or yours.
No, I'm just saying that you cannot basically overlook something like that. I mean, the judge himself is saying that I was blackmailed into giving that conviction.
My humble submission is, if there is a framework that ensures that no illegal activity happens, then the Honorable Supreme Court or any court doesn't have the kind of leeway to create new bodies, right? That becomes a different thing. Allow me to come back to the studio because I have to ask Arish Chaudhry Sahab. Arish Chaudhry Sahab, I feel 5 years or 6 years of evolution wasted. That in 2016 we see Panama Papers. We see that there are going to be more laws. And I understand that the government of Pakistan has really worked, especially the State Bank of Pakistan, because of FATF and other concerns. They have created a lot of laws. But every time I talk to any expert, and I tell you, I was in other programs, I was on Twitter Spaces, and umpteen other places. Every time I asked an expert, they could not point out a law which defined what offshore, company is, how it is bad, how it might be good occasionally, and what are the methods to control it. Why don't we focus on that?
Pitafi Sahab, it is really very technical, but when you refer to Panama Papers, one thing which we should not lose sight of is that there were 400 names which appeared and surfaced in the Panama leaks.
Right.
But what happened to all others except one or two?
Yeah.
So far, it's not known.
Yeah.
And now, again, we are depending upon the Prime Minister to chair the committee who will, investigate the matter, notwithstanding the fact that he, as Chief Executive, is the overall controller. And one thing, if you allow me 1 second.
I respect what you're saying, but I have to just humbly point out that my concern is even bigger, that we are actually leaving it upon another foreign body to release the names. There should have been an automatic mousetrap in this country, in this system.
You are
that
100%
was not
more
triggered.
than 100% right that this is the job of our institutions who are sitting over there and, you know, at our public exchequer, and they are doing nothing. You know, FIA should be manned with everything. You know, they should be able to, you know, find out all whatever is going. NAB, which has lot of powers, and, you know, let me say, because, you know, keeping in view the time constraints, there is gonna be a big crisis, and all these people are going, legal crisis, and all these people are going to take benefit out of that. Nothing will happen, you know.
I'm being told that we have to go for closing, but if I actually don't come back to Ahmed Jawad Saab, there might be another explosion.
But I agree with Arif Saab that there should be an internal mechanism in the country. We should not be relying on Panama and Pandora box. It should be our own laws, our own institutions, and even our own media. If ICIJ can do something, I mean, our media should also be able to, you know, find out things. And institutional responsibility of FIA, FBR.
High-minded things are good, but when you said that our media should be able to investigate, there is a property developer. Whenever there is an adverse report about him, no media house actually covers.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
So you're asking us
to media is not
willfully disappear.
Responsibility. FBR and FIA, they need to do better, that instead of waiting for ICIJ, they should have their own investigation.
Right. Adnan Saab, very quickly, you politicians keep on fighting amongst yourselves, and other people get away with murder. Very quickly, sir, your conclusion.
That is correct. I mean, I agree with you, because I mean, this internal wrangling that keeps on going forever between the political parties. The other institutions who are equally responsible for running the country, they get away with a lot of I mean, corruption and a lot of illegal things.
Okay, right. So there is, in conclusion, we all kind of sort of agree that there has to be better framework in this country. Ahmed Jawad Saab, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. And Arif Chaudhry sir, always great having you in the show. Dr. Afnan Nurullah Khan, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program as well. Yes, when you look at these lists, corruption is nothing new. If you actually go back to Prime Minister, actually Qaid Azam, the founder of the country's first speech, that was 11th of August, 3 days before Pakistan was actually created. Even in that speech, after the secular part, he actually talks about corruption. It has been there. But now the problem is that the power centers, especially private also, are getting so powerful that now it becomes very easy to subvert the system. You can keep on going after the names, and you should, of course, there are big names there, but you can actually go and fix the system, because if a pot is broken, every time you put water in it, it will leak out. There has to be some focus on that as well. This was my today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.